We'll first make the stencil that we want to use to create the shape of the pad, put it on the cotton cloth and mark it out it. Use a chalk, a rin or a vim bar to outline on the cloth. It is important that the fabric you use here to cut out these layers is a comfortable cotton cloth. Using a synthetic fabric, however, can cause discomfort. In case you're not so sure about your marking skills directly on the cloth, you can draw it out on the paper first, make any adjustments that may be required and use that cutout on the cloth to create the final cloth cutout. These cutouts will be our top and bottom layers of the pad. If you wish, you can use a printed and plain cloth to differentiate between the top and bottom layer. Using the same cloth is also fine. Now we'll take the towel cloth to cut out the absorbent layers. These will be without wings and slightly smaller in size to the outer layers so that they get stacked inside the pad properly. We are using a towel cloth here because it has greater absorbency than a normal cotton cloth. We'll now take one of these layers and keep it above the top layer like this to ensure that it is not out of shape and trim if needed. The number of inner layers again also depends on your need. So about 3 layers of it should be fine. Whereas if you're using some thick cotton cloth, you can put in around 5-6 such layers. Once again, we will place all inner absorbent layers over a cotton layer and see if they are well within the shape. We'll now stitch the inner layers together and we can actually begin by stitching right in the middle so that they do not move. If you are struggling to find that middle line, a simple way is to take the layers and fold it in half vertically and press it on the folded area to create a crease and then stitch along it. Now take the inner layers and place them on the top layer and stitch along. While stitching, I would like to address a bigger question. Why are we learning to make a cloth pad today? With the COVID-19 pandemic, we are facing a host of challenges such as access to resources, food and maintaining hygiene, especially menstrual hygiene. While the pandemic itself may be out of control, our response as a society is not. Cloth pads are easy to make with materials even more easily available in our homes and can prepare us to manage menstruation during this time. This makes for a temporary solution to the problem of supply chain of menstrual products during the lockdown period. Now take the second cotton layer and place it behind the top layer and stitch along the edges. Do not stitch completely and make sure you leave some space open. So I am making a purely cotton cloth pad, but you can choose to add a leak-proof layer to it. Now if you are using a leak-proof layer, place that under the top layer and the bottom layer further under it and stitch them together. A common question about cloth pads is that if cloth pads have more chances of infection than a disposable pad. Well, any menstrual product if used wrongly could increase the chances of an infection. A disposable sanitary napkin has, if not higher, than almost equal chances of an infection as a cloth pad. A common factor between the two is that they must not be worn for long and should be changed on time. More so with the disposable pad because it's not made of breathable material. Coming back to our stitching process, remember to not stitch all around and keep one end open, leaving the bottom unstitched. Now, the next step is to use the space we left open and turn the pad inside out. Do it very neatly so that the wings also come out in shape. Once you have turned it inside out, stitch the remaining opening and seal any space left open. We're now on the final step of making the cloth pad. If you're using stitch buttons, stitch them like this way. Mark 2 points on the wings, one on the top side and other on the bottom, so that when you place them together, they overlap each other and click together to seal the 2 parts of the stitch buttons. In case you're the one who's using normal buttons, place and stitch the button on the one wing, and on the other side, make a loop using a small scissor cut and seal the opening made by this cut by sewing it properly over the edges. Once this is done, your cloth pad is ready. Not so ready to use it though. Make sure that you wash this pad with clean water at room temperature and detergent and dry it out in the sun before your first use.